and welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. I'm Jasmine. I am your host for this podcast, and thank you for listening in. And I'd like to introduce you today to Barb Patterson. Hi, Barb.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
So, people who are listening, Barb was a super coach in 2012. So she did it before me.
Yeah.
And she's been out there, and she came to my super coach and any other classes that I've taken. I don't even remember where I've seen her specifically, but I know that I've seen her. And what I remember the most about Barb was that she was a business girl. She was into business. So I was looking forward to talking with you about that. But before we do, if you would like to, instead of me introducing you as a business girl, how about you introduce yourself to my people?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And so I live in Portland, Oregon in the US, and I've had this business now for going on 11 years, and I'm a coach and a consultant, and I share how an understanding of our mind and our deeper nature really has a direct relationship to anything we're up to in our life and in our work. And in particular, that how do we bring who we are to our life and our work? And this understanding has been just really transformative for me. It kind of changed everything in a really lovely way. But I will also say that my whole adult career has been in personal and professional leadership, talent management. So really helping organizations, organizational culture, and their leaders really kind of transform has been what I've been doing for many, many years. And, other people may relate to this, but kind of, we teach what we need to learn. So I was always my first guinea pig in anything I learned, so.
Yeah, I'm the same. I love organizing. I love organization. And I think that, like, for me, it was always about producing as much as I could efficiently and being productive. Like, for me, because everywhere that I've been, I had a lot of things to do. Like, there was always many, many tasks to do. And I couldn't stand not doing them all. and then screwing up on some. So I studied, organization and, how to be efficient. And I've studied systems and, so I was a customer relationship management consultant for a long time, So, and so now you've been doing this for 11 years, but your focus, like I was looking at your website, so you do like to work with solopreneurs.
I do. I work with solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, business and executive leaders, and kind of all different levels and sizes of companies. And I'll just talk about the solopreneur because I'm one and you are too. And really, it was early on when I was starting my business, and at the same time really learning how an understanding of our mind and our deeper nature like changes the way we move in the world. And where I experienced it most powerfully was how I was moving inside my own business and how I was finding my way and tapping into potential I hadn't tapped into before. I was feeling I was taking more risk, and not that I wasn't a risk taker before, I was, but there was a lot of thinking that went around it before. And I realized that I was moving through my business with less pressure and grind and striving. And listen, I am like perpetually on this learning curve, but I started to realize that, I was getting touched by life in more simple ways. I was getting exposed to new opportunities and possibilities. And there was something I could feel that my internal climate was so significantly different than it had been the previous 30 plus years of my career. And that was revolutionary for me to realize that, I've shared this before, but when I was living in Europe, right before I decided to leave that executive position, move back to the States and start this business, if somebody had said to me, would you like to take a class on well-being? I would have went, nope, thank you, I'm good. If somebody would have said, do you want to take a stress management class? I would have been like, nope, I'm good at managing stress. I just didn't realize, because it was my norm, I didn't realize how much I was living in this feeling of pressure and urgency and kind of behind the 8 ball, and this drive, this kind of constant drive to do well and to get it right. And then when I started to get feedback from some of my mentors early in this process, I started to realize how busy-minded I actually was, how internally active I was. Now, I thought I had to be. I thought that was one of the reasons why I did as well in my career, because I held it all. I thought about it. I pre-planned, and so it took a while for me to trust that I could slow down internally and still create a business that thrived, that I could slow down internally and feel more joy and fulfillment along the way. I could slow down internally and I wouldn't stay on my couch forever. I had a lot to learn in that direction, but it was so powerful. And, in my first year, I remembered, getting some feedback from George Pransky about how sped up I was. And it was that began to show me a different relationship to all of my thinking and all my old concepts of how we do well in business. And it was Michael, who was my coach at the time, Michael Neal. I remember saying to him at one point, I just thought I would be further along. This was like 9 months into being back. And I said to him, I'm like, am I doing something wrong? And he said to me, Barb, I think you're kind of like the Energizer bunny that was running and had learned to run on 30% power. And he said, and you got a lot done at 30% power, but that's basically what you were running off of it without realizing it. And he said, and now after slowing down and, slowing down inside as well as your life slowing down, you're at about a 70%. So you feel a ton better and you're like, come on already, but there's still more to be recharged and more slowing down to happen. And, it was like a perfect analogy for me in that moment, because I could hear the truth in it. I could hear like, oh yeah, like as much as I've let go of the grip of thought and push in my business, there is still so much more to learn and discover. And I would say even 10, 11 years later, I continue to be shown how there is a way that we can create and live in our businesses and express ourselves authentically, that does not require the kind of effort I think it does at times.
How's your level of tolerance now for stress?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it's a sign of health when your tolerance goes down, right? And so, yeah, I can still, don't get me wrong, I can still, I have that sort of memory, body memory, right? Where I can get into things, but I now know I don't respect it I don't respect it like I used to. Like, to me, that was the source of doing well, was my ability to push through, my ability to override tiredness, my ability to just hammer through regardless, like that I thought was the source of success. And I know now that that is a misunderstanding. Now, do I still have moments when I forget or it looks like I need to be trying harder? Yes, but I will wake up and remember, and at that point can do whatever occurs to me in that moment to kind of take my foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah, the big one that I saw for myself lately, like as you said, you wanted to do well, right?
Yeah.
For me it was I wanted to be good. Like I hadn't seen how much pressure I was putting on myself to be good. Like I was always caught up in the, okay, I have to be fair. This has to be just, like it's like such a misunderstanding of, okay, well, I am fair. I don't have to be fair. Like I am fair. So I don't have to go into my brain and make up what fair is. I'll know what fair is, so that kind of started. I kind of saw there was these little things that bugged me, like loyalty. Loyalty was one of them. It was like, okay, well, I have to be loyal to this person, and I started seeing that I was more loyal to the person than I was loyal to myself. And that kind of like for years, it was fine. There was no, it was like, no, I'm loyal. But then at one point I kind of went, wait, are you though? Like, really? And it just things started to dismantle things that I believed for years and years and just lived my life according to them, because that's what it was, that all of a sudden just started to dismantle,
That's nice.
Actually I'm good. I'm actually good. I'm a very good person. And it's like before this, I wouldn't be able to say it because it was like, okay, you can't boast. No, actually, I'm a good person. I can boast it. It's all good. I agree. I'm okay with that, And now I don't have to be loyal or disloyal. I'm just who I am, and I'm,
Nice.
it's kind of like a head thing, right? It's like a thought, like you have to be loyal. Well, why do you have to be loyal? You think you're not being loyal? Like there's a little thing that shows up there.
Yeah.
So that was a really, it released me. Like I didn't know how much pressure I had on that.
Yeah. Nice. And I think that's it. I think all of us, we have these ideas that we've just sort of accumulated throughout our life, whether, it was from our family of origin, whether something happened in our life, so we drew a conclusion about ourselves, or, we've heard it from society, culture, all those things. We don't realize how much we're kind of moving through our life and our work with a lot of preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
We've kind of taken those thoughts and those ideas about who we are, what we're good at, what we're not good at, what we're capable of, and we're living as if they're truth rather than just some thought we had or a decision we made or a misunderstanding. And so then we're trying to stretch ourselves, try something new, start our own business, do something that we're excited. But we think we have to navigate it with all these ideas about ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, our personality, our past, again, like all these things that we have to overcome. Yet when we understand that there is so much more to who we are than those ideas, that our personalities are not fixed, right? Our experiences aren't fixed. Our feelings aren't fixed. You start to realize that, oh yeah, my personality isn't this set thing that's rooted and I got to deal with it. You start to see more of the fluid nature of who we are. And in that, we get more range when we are less locked into the thinking that we know who we are and what we're good at and what we're not, we begin to experience and give ourselves more room. When we understand that, okay, I thought, I wasn't good at that, or I had a thought that I have a, I don't like speaking in front of people, like just all these things that we put out there as if they're truths. And if we get and hold that all a little looser, what you start to discover is there's more to me than I realized. I don't have to navigate my business or my relationships trying to dodge my faults or overcome my weaknesses. You start to see that, oh yeah, we have available to us in every moment this sort of pure potential to have any experience in any minute.
So let me ask you, so like you said earlier, you're a solopreneur, I'm a solopreneur.
Yeah.
I'm asking you the question and I'm like, would I be able to answer it? What is like, I'm not going to say the biggest, but what is one of the game-changing things that transformed your business for you that you kind of like got?
Well, I would say there was a moment that was pretty transformative for me. And I was sitting at my desk and I was looking out the window and I felt myself begin to get worried about my business and how I was doing. And I started having these thoughts like, yeah, I need more clients. What's happening right now isn't sustainable. Just like the normal kind of fear that we all have, right? And then I saw it. I saw that by me leaning into that thinking, I was getting more and more revved up. I was getting more and more anxious and wanting to do something, like I could feel the impulse now to just start doing things. And in that moment, I had a level of awareness just in that moment. And it was just really clear to me, I do not want to build my business from fear and insecurity. And push and effort, but underneath all that, again, was the fear and insecurity. And I remember thinking, okay, I don't know that I know how to do it any other way. But I know I don't want to. And I trust that there's another way because of my teachers and mentors at the time that kept pointing me to, you don't have to try so hard. You don't have to be so busy-minded. You don't have to hold it so gripped. Have you thought about taking more time off? Like, kind of all these things that sounded ridiculous to me when I thought, no, I'm trying to build something here. And yet I could hear the truth in it. Something spoke to me. And so in that moment, I was like, okay, I have no evidence that this is going to work. I have no evidence that I can keep leaning into a slower, more spacious internal space and I'll create something. I have no evidence that I can slow down and let go of the grip of my doer and that I'll actually keep moving. It's like, to me, I had success, as I said earlier, linked to the striving, the push, the drive. And, but I knew, I could see in that moment that I wanted another way. And so it was, I in hindsight, I guess I would speak to it like I decided to borrow someone else's trust, like borrow the trust of my mentors and teachers. But to be clear, it wasn't blind faith. There was something, my wisdom, my internal wisdom was nudging me and telling me, you can do it another way. There's another way. Pay attention. There's another way. So it was in that moment that I feel like I made a choice. Now, like I said, that doesn't mean I didn't have to still learn how to not be so intense inside, how to not be pushy and rush. And, I'm a learning curve, effort. But I can say now, 10, 11 years later, I have lots of evidence that you can build a successful business. You can build a business where you feel like you get to be who you are and grow and evolve, and it can wake you up to more of who you are in a really lovely way. You can have wonderful connections and learn and the ups and downs of it all without having to be motivated by fear and insecurity. And
Yeah, that's, what I'm hearing and what you're saying is like, you knew your other way worked.
yeah,
You'd done it. So yeah, I know if I stress myself out enough, and if I think about it enough, and if I plan enough, and if I worry enough, and if, like, like if I do all of these things, I know it works.
yeah,
I've done it, right?
yeah,
The whole point is you don't have to.
yeah, yeah. Well, and there's a price that other way. And the price is, yes, there's a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual toll for sure. But the other price that I wasn't aware of was that it robs us of connecting to life more fully. It robs us of joy because I was constantly on to the next better thing. It also robs us of depth and intimacy. So if I'm rushing across the surface of my life and, on to the next thing, and never really dropping in to experience the deeper, richer quality of life and relationships and connection. And, I would have given myself an A+ on relationships and my ability to connect. And, but I had no idea there was so much more on offer. I had no idea how my internal busyness and striving was keeping me from intimacy and deeper connections, and also getting touched by those connections in a richer way. And, I know that my busyness, my internal mind being so rushed and active, when I slowed down, when I got more of a feel for more internal spaciousness, my impact in my work went to another level as well. And just to say, I think in your example and mine, a lot of people I know, we're high functioning, right? But to know that even as a high functioning person, there's another way, there's more connection and depth and the richness of life and peace of mind and well-being and love and laughter and lightness available to us in our business.
Yeah. I see. As you're speaking, I'm just reminded, like, these podcasts. I mean, I'm starting my 4th season now, right? So, I mean, I've had, like, I'm going to average 20 episodes per season. So, and I've been talking to, let's say I met 60 people, right?
Yeah.
And I have these gorgeous conversations with every single one of them. And I do connect. And most of them I don't get to talk to again.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like we're friends, but like in this moment, I'm here with you.
Yeah.
And we're having that, and I think that that's the connection, right?
That's right.
And I used to fear it. I have to admit, I used to fear it. I thought because I had made up that there was all this stuff that came with connection. Not true. Nothing comes with connection. It's just connection. Right. And I just saw lately that when there's a group, I didn't connect. I didn't see it. And at one point I was like, oh my God. I just, like, all of a sudden it just came to me. I was like, I don't connect in groups. Like, I had this thing going on about that. So, and I haven't had a group since, so we'll see. But I've seen it. I know that it's it's something, I can't unsee it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I love that. What a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like, for me, the seeing, and just, I remember in the beginning when I would see these things and I would share with my friends, You know what I just saw? I don't know. I'm going to make stuff up because once I see it, sometimes it just disappears also, right? It doesn't stay alive anymore. I can just drop it. But let's say, oh, I was selfish. And then people go, yeah, we knew that. And I'm kind of like, so I stopped telling people what was going on with me in the beginning because it was just I wasn't ready to vocalize it, right? But the seeing of many things and then the owning of it and just saying, oh yeah, it's true. I was selfish there. Oh yeah, it's true. Like all the bad news that I figured out about myself, oh man, I manipulated you. I'm so sorry. These kind of things. But now I love that I can own it, because once I own it, I know I can, get rid of it, change it, do something about it. Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think also, as somebody that's been in the field of transformation and self-improvement and organizational improvement, I've been trained to have an eye for what's broken. And when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, that saying. And so I had a habit of looking for what wasn't quite where I wanted it to be inside myself. And so that sort of, if only I was this way, it would help here. If only I could be more disciplined. If only I could be more courageous. If only I could be more focused. If only I could lose 10 pounds. If only, I just had a lot of if onlys. And they're tricky because it looks real to us, like, oh, if only this, my life would be better. But I started to see, when I started to understand thought more and more and see all the thought, I realized that my constant attention towards and looking for what might need improvement was leaving me in a constant feeling of dissatisfaction. And it was also, there wasn't a lot of room for self-love and compassion. I was constantly, and it wasn't intense, but there was sort of this constant standard that I wasn't living up to. And again, I didn't realize that internal kind of climate was having an effect on me because it seemed reasonable and rational,
Yeah.
I didn't understand that it was actually keeping me more internal at times. That was, putting mountains in my mind when it was nothing. It was looking like I had more to do before I could really experience my fullness, my wholeness. And that's the misunderstanding. So yes, of course, we're always evolving. Have I had to learn how to do things in my business? Absolutely. But I think that sort of constant view that somehow I need to keep tweaking myself to get what I want, to be who I want to be, has been a trick of the mind and has been something that, again, has created, when I'm feeling more pressure or heaviness or weighted down in my business, I know I'm taking something too seriously. That's my red flag now. And I want to say that because I think that the way through is love and compassion and seeing our innocence. I'm so quick to see where I could tweak myself, but am I just as quick to see at the end of the day, we're all doing the best we can in any given moment, including me? Can I sit in a feeling of love and compassion for myself in the same way I do with the animals around, or good friends or family members or my clients? It's like, I didn't realize that the feeling I lived in for myself, it wasn't like intensely negative, but it wasn't the feeling of love and ease. And, it's like, I have a niece and a good friend that were visiting me one time, and I just, like, they walked into the room and I just lit up. I just, so glad that they were there. I love them so much. And in a conversation that weekend, I realized we were talking about self-love, and it's not a topic I really am that interested in. Surprise, surprise. But it really showed me something, because I realized, oh, when I consider myself, that feeling isn't there. It's a little cooler and more distant, and it's got work on its mind, right? And work on self on its mind. But my niece and my friend didn't have to do anything to earn my love and affection. They didn't have to change at all. And so I just started to see, like, oh yeah, can I drop self-improvement? And this is like hard for me. I just will share, that was a few years ago, but I continue to see my tendency towards self-improvement as the key to having a good business and a good life and being a good woman, And so I just bring that up to say, yeah, what if we could live in the feeling of love and compassion and innocence in regards to ourselves as well?
I totally get that. I had this thought pop into my head once, because when I look at my pets, I look at her, and I'm like, how can I love her more? Like, I just looked at her 3 seconds ago and I loved her. But then if I turn around and I look at her again, I'm going to love her even more.
Yeah.
Like and animals, any animal, I'm like, it's instantaneous, like just the pigeon. I saw the pigeon outside. I was like, okay, I got to go help the pigeon. For those of you, I didn't tell you in the podcast, but I found a baby pigeon outside and I couldn't leave him out there. So now he's in a cage and I'm finding a home for him. That's it. But I get this. It's instant. It's unconditional. Like they could bite me, they could scratch me, they could do anything that they want. For me, it's kind of like nothing is going to change my feeling for them.
Yeah.
And I had the thought at one point. I looked at my father, and I was like, wow, like I love my dog more than I love my father. Like I really had that thought. And of course, the next thought that came on was, how dare you? How could you be like that? This whole thinking came up, but it came back and it came back. And I just saw how there's just a lot of thinking that's in the way about it. Like when it comes to animals, I just don't have any thinking. They're innocent, they're pure, they're nature, they do what they do. They don't have language, so I have this thing going on. And that evolved into that feeling is not her.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling is me. I'm the one generating the feeling. It's an inside out thing. So every feeling that occurs to me now is like, this is mine, has nothing to do with you, has nothing to do with Dad, has nothing to do with the dog. It's me.
Yeah.
And that also was great, because that also transformed my relationship with people. Because now I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, it's me. And I can talk to anybody and I can be with anybody. I used to be like, oh no, if you did this in your life, I can't talk to you. Oh, if you do that in your life, I can't talk to you. If you say this word, I can't talk to you. This was like ridiculousness that occurred, just because of thinking. It was innocence. Like you said, it was an innocent thing that I was doing. But now I'm just like seeing it's all me.
Yeah.
I can bring this feeling anywhere. And that is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's so profound what you're saying, because when we realize circumstances, people don't have to change for us to find that feeling of connection and peace and love inside of ourselves. It's so powerful. And also, when we think about our businesses, if we understand that the fruits of what we say, how we work with others, our creative ideas for our work, the ways we have impact are always being shaped and informed by what's happening inside of us. It's like, oh yeah, well, don't I want that garden, right? That soil, that garden to be rich and aerated, and, and so to realize that, oh yeah, that living in that feeling, and we don't have to be attached to it. Our feelings are transient and our experience is transient, which is great. But do we know where home base is? Do we know where home base is inside of us? And to just consider that there are like infinite levels of that richness, that quality of feeling inside of us. And can we hold that for ourselves as much as we're willing to hold it for other people? And I guarantee what comes from that space is tailor-made for us and whatever's on our path.
When you come from love, you create love.
Yeah.
I really see it. I really see it. It's like, where are you coming from?
Yeah.
Barb, this was a gorgeous conversation.
Yeah, so nice to talk to you.
Same here. Before we leave, would you like to tell people how they can get in touch with you? Did I see correctly on your website you have a program starting soon, or is it?
I think there are a couple things kind of in the works, but you might be seeing the previous small group I had, but I am doing a workshop this summer. It's going to be in July, and information will hopefully kind of be ready to share later this week. But it's a 2-day retreat for solopreneurs. It's called Rooted to Rise. I did a program last December with that theme. And the idea is that we sort of take a little summer vacation, right? Summer retreat. And we use that time to do exactly what you and I were just talking about, is getting more deeply rooted in that essential nature, that creative space within us. We listen to what's alive inside of us, what wants to be expressed through us. Where does our curiosity, our inner promptings want to take us? And the more that we can get rooted in and connect it to that essential nature, to that wisdom within, then it becomes and informs everything we do for our businesses. And so, it's a retreat from the mind. It's a retreat from the pressure, and an opportunity to just dip in so that we can step back out into our worlds and our businesses for the second half of the year in a new way.
Very nice. So they can get the information. They can sign up to
BarbaraPatterson.com. Yeah.
Barbara Patterson. And they can sign up to your newsletter. So
yes,
you have a beautiful newsletter, by the way. I looked at it. It's very nicely built.
Thank you.
Clean. I like it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because last year, early in the year, my own inner prompting was to take a break from the podcast and the writing and the blog. And that break ended up being a year. And there were times when I really questioned if I had lost the plot completely, right? So, but it's nice to be writing every week once again and sharing. And so I appreciate your compliment. Thank you.
Well, Barb, thank you again. And I wish you good luck in everything.
And you as well. Thank you for all you're doing. I think it's hosting people, having these conversations is such a beautiful way to give back to people. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Everybody else, I'm going to say, dream it, dare it, do it, live the life that you want, and see you next time. Bye-bye.